This is Vinyl Voices Radio. ESPN 97.5.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm John Denman.
Dusty Sundehan.
All right, welcome everybody to this week's episode of Vinyl Voices Radio here on ESPN. Like I said, Justice and Dejas, I'm John Denman, and we have a very special guest this week, and we're actually on location, packed up everything from Jason's garage, and we moved it to Rockefeller's.
Rockefeller's classic venue in Houston, historic, and lots of great players have played here over the years. Stevie Ray, I was telling Daniel, saw Ray Charles in here one night. But tonight, very honored to have Daniel Donato here, our guest on this week's show.
We are on location for sure.
Sound check is happening as we speak.
Yeah, and so the whole thing that's going on here is Cosmic Country is doing a co-headline tour with Eggy, and they're friends of ours. And So we're doing a 90-minute show and they're doing a 90-minute show, but our bands usually do 2 sets a night, 3-hour-long shows. And we're kind of combining forces and bringing it to places that both of us don't really tour much, you know, because the sum of the whole is greater than the parts.
Yeah. Right.
So, but also the sum of the whole is louder in this interview than usual. So.
Well, it's a cool tour because both of y'all have like this rising trajectory. I mean, both acts are just gaining a lot of momentum in the music industry. So, what's it been like so far? I mean, the crowd's been pretty good. Like a lot of, following. Is it more eggy? Is it more Cosmic Country, or have you been able to gauge the crowds?
The dichotomy has been really truthful and loving, really, you know. Our scene, it emerges with the music industry in more informal ways than not. And it's all love with our demographic and our communities. So they love both bands. And I really haven't been able to quantify it too much. I really don't know, and you know, and the rise has been. It feels pretty steady to me. It feels like just a low interest APY.
Right.
On like a savings account or something. Like it doesn't, you know, because I've just been
Nice and steady.
nice and steady. It's like Warren Buffett, right?
Yeah.
I've been doing this since I was 14, you know, and so all the adjectives of, you know, all these astral sounding, meteoric, explosive idea. I think it's cool and all, and I hope that stays in the narrative of what goes on in our universe, respectively to Cosmic Country. But for me personally, when I go to sleep at night, I felt like I just did the same amount of reps that I've been doing every day since I was 14, and I feel really grateful for that because none of it's overwhelming for me. I've just been doing it for so long, and I've wanted it so bad, and I've done it so honestly my whole life, for over half my life now, rather. And
Yeah.
you know, so you know, I'm grateful to be here.
Yeah. And then on tour, it's always more fun to do it with friends, right?
Boy, is it,
It's
man!
like everything.
Yeah, and sometimes it's harder. You know, my band and we fight like brothers. You know, just last night we were all yelling at each other in the green room before the show.
I mean, if you're not doing that, then you know you don't really like each other, right?
Well, I think it informs the sound.
Yes.
I do. I used to play in people's bands where the band would have a bus and then the artist would have their own bus, and somehow the band isn't an artist, and I don't know how that works, but you know, and then there was never really any emotional vulnerability. And the thing that happens with that is it never actually allows it to the music to turn into something that is dramatic and fulfilling like a Disney movie would be. Because the vulnerability isn't there amongst the personalities and the soul.
I mean, it's Christmas time, Hallmark Channel.
There you go.
You got to have that.
Yeah.
that going on.
My mom and I used to watch Hallmark Channel movies and eat cups of ramen. That was great. I was a little boy. I remember that. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about some songs.
Okay.
And
we're going to digress from ramen to songs. I like that.
Well, we can roll right in with a little ramen into the song.
Oh,
yeah, because they're all intertwined.
Hang on.
Yeah, there's a bunch of noodles. Dance in the Desert.
Yeah.
So that song, whenever I was listening to it, I mean, it definitely has a little disco beat to it, and it makes you want to get up and dance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when you know, it's named Dance in the Desert, so I can just picture this whole scene going on with it, and you know, everybody dancing in the desert, having a really good time. Yeah. Festival vibe going on. Yeah. Clothing optional. You know, the whole just good times rolling.
Especially for you.
Yeah, always, always.
Daniel pegged you just on our first meeting.
No.
He knows who you are.
Well, apparently I look like a friend of his from back there. So.
You look like our producer Vance Powell just a little.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dance in the Desert. Just a jamming little song you made there.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm really a big fan of the '80s Waylon sound, and Waylon, being in Buddy Holly's band, really learned how to make songs in a popular form really danceable and bring that to country. And you know, Merle wasn't doing that really, and really Jerry Reed was kind of the king of that. You know, and so Waylon comes in and he knows how to deliver a song that has just as much three-chordal truth as country needs to have, but it also makes you dance and it makes you groove, and you can extend it and make it do all kinds of things. And when Dance in the Desert started unveiling itself, that was one of the initial seeds that were sowed into that song. And I was really into the tale of the three wise men at that time. And the desert, kind of classically, is it's an archetype. It's an unexplored place of chaos where mirages of evil can happen, like Cool Water. If you listen to the Marty Robbins song or Sons of the Pioneers, you know, keep a moving, Dan. Don't you listen to him, Dan. He's a devil, not a man, and he spreads the burning sand with water. It's like there's this weird room for the transcendent to come in when you place something in the scene of a desert. And I love that, man. Yeah.
I love that.
Here's a fun fact for Dance in the Desert: is it took about 3 years to actually get it right.
Wow.
It took a long time.
Yeah.
Not all songs do. That
Right.
took a while.
What was kind of the slowdown on that one, or what was the where you weren't seeing eye to eye on some of the things, or?
I don't know if it was a slowdown. I think it just was what it was.
Yeah.
You know, and it was just hard to get it to cover all the bandwidth of the emotional spectrum that I knew it could cover. Musically, it took a long time. The lyrics had to be there, and the form had to be there, and the dynamics had to be there, and where it goes left and where it goes right had to take time to come into fruition.
Yeah, we talked for a Houston Press interview, and I told you that was a song that kind of hooked me because I'm a lyrics guy. Like, a lot of times we do this stuff, and John's like the vibe guy, the music. I'm listening for lyrics because I'm a word person. And I told you when we talked that morning I was having a rough morning, and listening to that song just does what music does. It just brought me back centered, and I was like, oh, everything's gonna be fine, you know. And
Right on.
I just love the lyric, the positivity in that lyric. There's nothing better than being you type, you know. I mean, and I needed that morning, and so, but I just love that, and maybe if it took that time for those lyrics to come across, then I'm glad you took your time with it. And,
Thank you.
yeah.
I appreciate that, Jesse.
Yeah. Is that how it pretty much goes? Like, you know, I'm just going to let this thing, you know, there's a whole idea of cosmic, you know, attached to you. You just really let the universe bring it to you.
Yeah, whatever you want to call it. You call it the universe. It's just about having faith in the time that it takes for whatever it is you're creating to unveil. Everyone's a creative being, you know. We live in a creation. There is a start to all of this, you know. So the whole framework of our reality is that of a creation, and if we live within that framework, then we are creations as well, and creatives. And there's an innate faith that I think is required to pursue creativity with all you got, you know. So, man, the lyrics on that one really, when my friend Chandler Brown and I were writing it, that was a very moving moment for us. We wrote it during, right when the lockdown started, and it was a miserable time. You know, it was miserable for us, and we just kind of conjured up the faith that travelers in the desert might have, you know, to find the North Star and to keep going.
Right.
So that's
Yeah.
a song about faith.
Love
you know?
it.
And
Love
a lot of people don't like that word, and a lot of people don't know. I don't even know if we really fully understand what that word means. You know, but I'm glad it affects you, and I love that song. You know?
Yeah, there it is. A cup of coffee and some Daniel Donato in the morning. Get your mind right.
Right. Yeah, why not?
All right, let's take a break, and when we get back, we'll talk more with Daniel Donato. This is Vinyl Voices Radio here on ESPN. Be right back.